Welcome to Lead Different.
What happens when faith, resilience, and a passion for people become the foundation for leadership? Today, I'm excited to welcome Kat Nichols to the Lead Different podcast. Kat is the owner and president of Nichols Virtual Sourcing, bringing more than 20 years of recruiting and headhunting experience to helping businesses find the right talent and helping people discover opportunities they may not have seen for themselves. But what makes Kat's approach different is that she doesn't treat people like resumes or checklists. She takes the time to understand the person behind the experience, the story, and the potential. As an ovarian cancer survivor, Kat's journey transformed the way she sees faith, purpose, and surrender, and inspired her to live with greater intention and use her gifts to serve others. Today, we're going to talk about leading with purpose, serving others, overcoming adversity, and trusting God when life takes an unexpected turn. Subscribe and join us as we discover what it means to lead different with Kathy Nichols. Let's dive in.
Why not leadership? Why not lead different?
Welcome to Lead Different, the podcast that redefines leadership and challenges the status quo. Hosted by Daniel Dominguez, founder and CEO of Why Not Leadership. This show is your compass to becoming a better leader through the power of self-awareness. Good leaders foster teams that are engaged, empowered, and energized. Join us on this transformative journey as we equip you with the tools and insights to lead different. Get ready to challenge the ordinary and embrace self-aware leadership. This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different, because great leaders change the world.
Well, welcome to the show, Kat. I had so much fun reading that introduction and learning more about you. We met through our Catholic connections, and I've just been following you. You put out some great content on social media, and I knew that our audience at the Lead Different podcast needed to hear from you. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dan. It's a pleasure to get to know you and be now part of your guest on your show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our clients learning more about you. As I was learning more about you, one of the things that struck me is how long you've been doing this and how you're doing it differently. And it's what caused me to want to say, you know what, we need to have her on the show. So you're the owner and president of Nichols Virtual Sourcing. And what you do is you help leaders find high-level talent, but you do it a little bit differently. Can you tell us what you guys do differently at Nichols Virtual Sourcing that you might not get from your traditional headhunter or person that you're working with?
It's very person to person. It's not me with an organization or an establishment because it is just me and I don't have a big team working behind me. And I like to tell people, and it sometimes is her turn, and that's fine. I'm a wife and a mom first. Those are my first two jobs, and I love those two jobs. And so that's always going to be my priority. But my third is making sure that my clients have the best candidates for the roles that they're trying to fill. And the only way I can do that is by treating them as a person and not an organization. So just like we're on this call, just like we had a call prior to this, I want to know about Dan. What are Dan's tics? I just learned you boxed. Like all those little details, the more I can know about my client, the better I can fill the role. Same goes with the candidates that I'm speaking with. I'm not just, checking boxes. Oh, do you have this education? Do you have this experience? But no, okay, you grew up and you were the caregiver for your mom because she was sick, or your parent died early, there's so many different stories that go past the paper that we present to employers. That's my job to kind of extrapolate for my clients and make that person stand out. So that's what makes me a little bit different in the field.
Yeah. And, you mentioned there's a couple of things you said there that are really important for today's generation and I think we're seeing a reversion back to this where you mentioned what the two most important roles for you are, wife and mother. And then on top of that, you run a very successful business. Where does that commitment come from? Is it something that came to you late in life? Was it something that when you and your husband met, you said, this is how we're going to do it? Or was it something you always knew you were going to put first, even when you were going to college and spending all that time learning all the things that make you the great executive that you are today?
That's a big question. It does go back to, I am a cradle Catholic and I had the best parents, a little biased, right? Everybody thinks their parents are the best. My parents were really, really good. I lost my father in 2020, but both were devout Catholics. We went to mass every Sunday. We ate dinner together every evening. We prayed together. We did the rosary together. My mother, because my dad's ability to work and to allow her the ability to stay home and to take care of us children and by default to take care of him as well, right? We were always well fed. We were always clean. The house was always nice. Like that was her job and she took it seriously. And she still takes it seriously with us three girls and with our with her grandkids. And to see it and in real time and see the effects that it had, not only on me, but on my sisters, I'm like, I want to be like her. And one thing that I always tell my mom, and it's just like a little side note, is it's so admirable when somebody would come to our house, just unexpected. I don't know if this is a Hispanic thing. I don't know, but she would say, oh, thanks for coming, or come on in. And then she would make a meal from scratch.
Yes.
You do not see that level of hospitality anymore in this generation. I tell her all the time, I'm like, that's impressive, because I'd be panicking. I'm like, you're in my house. Oh my gosh, stuff is dirty. I don't know if I have enough meat. She goes, it's whatever you have. It's just the idea of hospitality. And so taking that level, seeing the way she did it, the way her mom, the way my other grandmother did it, as far as like taking that wifely duty serious, that motherly duty serious, that just kind of like it's embedded in me, and I like it and I admire it. And I'm trying to do the same with my littles now. And so, it's a blessing. I mean, it's a blessing to be able to do that and to have a husband to support me, to be able to do those things first. Not a lot of people have that capability. So I'm very blessed.
I love that your mom does that. It's funny. My mom passed about 4 years ago, and part of her eulogy, we talked about the fact that you would always find her happy place was the kitchen. And they lived in a small house with a tiny kitchen with a table that sat 4 or 5 people. She had a big dining room table in the dining room that could sit 12. But the kitchen was her thing. And like my dad's friends would show up, and next thing you know, she's cooking and she's feeding him. And the other thing is, I don't know if your mom did this, you had to finish the food. And she would always make enough food for 10 people, even if there was only 5. So your second serving was always bigger than your first serving. So you'd like, oh yeah, I'll have a little bit more. Plop it. You had a big plate of rice, beans, and chicken, whatever she was making. And it's like you said, she was always ready. And that was her happy place. And so I'm sure your mom just probably really enjoys that company and providing, because that's it's a way to serve, right?
Absolutely. It's a way of telling the people around you love them and that you're nurturing them and that you're taking your job seriously, and it's awesome. It's a blessing for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because she was the other thing that we remember is she was a godmother to everyone. Her and my dad we'd show up at their house and there'd be some person that we'd never seen before. And that's our godchild, we baptized him in 2001, it's like, oh, okay, he's 25 now. So now we that's why we don't recognize him. But that was their other big thing. My mom and dad had so many godchildren. My dad's still around. So we get to see them every once in a while. But yeah, that's such a cool thing. How do you practice that? How do you, when you think about that hospitality, how do you do that in your life? I'd love to hear, what is it that you do for people when they show up unannounced, and how do you make them feel welcome?
Well, I'm going to use a little recent side story. So we live in a neighborhood. We're not like offset to society. We're actually in a neighborhood. And my kids are always here and they're always playing outside. And our neighbor, their grandson just came to say, and he's been here on and off, and now he's here permanently. Anytime he's here, it's like, I'm making cookies, we're making dinner.
Right.
And my son's like, can you stay for dinner? I'm like, yeah, that's sure. And it's so funny because the other day they were swimming and my son's like, can you make cookies? Can you make cookies? That's our thing. Like, we're always making sweets.
Nice.
Like if mom's in the kitchen and it's the weekend, dad's barbecuing, mom's making something sweet.
Love that.
So he's like, can you make cookies? I'm like, oh, I don't feel like making them. I'm so tired. And my mom's here, right? And she's kind of like, are you like, this is your opportunity to shine? And I'm like, oh, I don't want to make cookies. And then I hear the little guy that's swimming. He's like, they're such good cookies. And like, cause he's had them before. And I'm like,
Right.
okay. I am like, that's what it took. Like the little guy wants cookies. Okay, we're going to make cookies. And me and my mom sat in the kitchen, we made some cookies. And it's just that sometimes you don't want to do it. You're tired. You might be lazy and you just don't want to move, or you're just like, I don't want to serve today. But, you know, if you do and you take that call, I mean, who knows? I might have changed his life. He might have had a bad day, and that one little cookie made all the difference, right? I mean, same comes for an unexpected guest, or when your in-laws come to town, you're like, I don't, you know, like it's a lot of upkeep. It's a lot of chatter. It's a lot of, you know, I got to put myself and everything I have to do aside because I need to take care of the people that are in my orbit, the people that I love, the people that my husband loves, and it can come in different forms.
Well, you do a great job. And as I was learning more about you, and we did the YOS said, so guests or listeners will tell you Kat's YOS later. But one of the things that we know you're passionate about is in the work that you do. So when you're not being mom and when you're not being wife and when you're working at Nichols Virtual Sourcing, you provide amazing service. And one of the things that stuck out to me, and it's so common in people with the why of contribute, you are passionate about helping businesses and professionals succeed. And you're a connector, and we've only been connected a couple of months, and you've already connected me with a few other people that I'm working with. So thank you for living what you say you do, but also that's such an important part of what you do. So as a contributor, one of the things we know is you love helping people. You love being part of causes that are bigger than yourself. And then you also have the why of trust as your what. So you're very dependable. And we talked about that in the pre-show. You're one of those people, if you say you're going to do something, it's going to get done. You'll work 40 hours. You'll stay up till midnight. You'll get up at 4 a.m. It's going to get done because if you said it's going to be done at 3 o'clock, so it makes you really reliable. That seems to be a signature for you. What would, how does that show up for you in the work that you do?
Ooh, man, in so many different ways. Going above and beyond. I know that sounds cliche, but if I have a client that's like, man, I have a deadline, I really need this role filled because this person's about to head out. It's like, okay, well, tell me all the nuts and bolts. Tell me like my window, what your preferences are, but tell me the big scope. Like what do you have that can make you a little bit more agile? And then I'll just barrel down and do my best. And I have the luxury of working for myself, and I am working at home. So, right. And then we do have this, which can be very annoying, but you know, when I'm not cooking or when I'm not being mom, I'm here. Even when I'm working out, I have a treadmill here. I'm still working. I'm trying to do all the things, but I'm trying to make sure that I'm always making sure that my clients are taken care of it, that they're happy, and they're whatever the orders are. Even on the candidate side, you know, if they need a resume done, that I'm doing that too, even when I'm on vacation. Like it's one of those things where I have to segregate. Okay, we're doing breakfast now. We have a little bit. Let me check my email, and you're just like, okay, you know, present. Right. That urgency sometimes lags with some people. It's like the minute somebody emails you, if you see it and there's a priority there, that person should get a response probably within the next 30 minutes. If you have that ability, even if it's something as simple as give me about 2 hours or give me till end of business today and I will be. Just also that respectability that comes with clients to let them know, okay, you didn't drop the ball. You're on it. It's just you can't respond at that exact time. I mean, there's definitely different ways and forms where I try to show up with candidates. I'm not more focused on the candidate side as I am for the clients. But I get so many people that are like, can you look at my resume? Can you just tell me if I'm doing it right? And a lot of times I'll get those and I'm like, oh man, no, let me just do it over for you. Or I don't know what titles would be good for me. I take discoveries all the time where people are also trying to pivot. They hate their industry, or teachers, you know, they're like, I don't want to teach anymore. I want to do something else. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about all the different things that you did within teaching or the things you did in your past life. And I try to help in that way, try to shape. And I mean, I don't charge for it. I think it's more of a pay it forward. Like I say all the time, I've been blessed on the other side. So I do have the capability to not worry about quota as much, but also just worry about the person.
That's so good. As you were talking, I'm reminded of the limits. We all have to have limits. So what are your non-negotiables in terms of, like you said, so for me, one of the things that I do that works really well for me is I try to take Wednesdays off. And that puts a lot of pressure on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. But it also lets me know that, that's the day I go play golf with my dad. That's the day that, if there's appointments or things to do, that I try to get those things done. But it also, I think you kind of alluded to it a little bit. You've got 10 minutes. You're going to do as much as you can in those 10 minutes so you can be present for breakfast with the family, right? So what are the non-negotiables? Like, is it on vacation? Do you, you mentioned even on vacation, you'll take those calls, but how do you make it work so that you are being present for your family and also giving outstanding service to the clients that you're working with?
Mm-hmm. I think a early on limit that became more concrete in the last probably 2 or 3 years is I don't work on Sundays. I will post for LinkedIn because I'm posting scripture, but I won't work on a Sunday. I won't do anything on a Sunday because that's the Lord's day. And I take that seriously for myself. Also, every morning, I could sit there and while I'm drinking coffee or while I'm walking, I could be answering emails, but I don't. I give the Lord probably about a good hour. I pray the rosary every single morning. I do either scripture or I'll go through the catechism and just learn a little bit more, always trying to push limits, always trying to start my day as the number one with him and end my day with him. And that's a non-negotiable. When it comes with my family, I do pickup duty. I don't do drop off duty. I'm thankful to have my husband. He does that when the kids are home. I'm cooking. I cook like my mom for my kids and my husband, and they get fresh food. And I'm mom at that point. Like, what homework do you have? What problems do you have you need help with? That takes priority. If I have to take a call during those evening hours, I will take a call, but I will be very strategic as to when and how many times I allow that to happen, because I do my best to do all of my tasks during the day, and then post hour when the kids are showering and they're taken care of. If I need to respond to emails and get back to work, I will do it at that point. But there's those specific timeframes and obligations that it's a non-negotiable for me. Family's always going to be first.
Love that. Kat, you've got also, one of the things that I also wanted to talk about today is your cancer journey, because that has shaped you. Obviously, your faith plays a big part in your life. Tell us about that journey, surviving it, and how it changed how you view life, and what are you doing differently since that incident?
So I was diagnosed in 2016 with a rare aggressive form of ovarian cancer. It was stage 1C. I had just had my daughter in October, and then I was diagnosed not even a year later. I started to feel differently. And when you're young, it's you don't have cancer, you're fine. I actually had a nurse tell me when I walked in and said, I would like all these tests done because I think I have cancer. She completely wrote me off to my face and was like, you don't have cancer. I'm like, you don't know that. And I know my rights, and I can ask for this test.
Right.
Thankfully, the doctor overrode and said, no, go ahead. Whatever is going to make her comfortable.
Right.
With the test, it's not going to hurt. Well, I was right. Always listen to your body. I was right. I had that nagging feeling. Thankfully, I was able to catch it early. And then I went through 6 rounds of chemo, did a full hysterectomy. Thankfully, I have 2 kids. I did all the things that needed to be done to get me to a cancer-free diagnosis in 2017 of January. And then trying to rebuild and not, try to be as healthy as you possibly can, make good decisions, that you possibly can. But also what drastically changed was, and people can relate in their own lives if they've gone through anything that's a very life or death situation, is I owe it to God. And now he saved me for whatever reason. So now I owe it to him to do my life and live it in the very best way I possibly can. And so I have since then, and I grow every single day. I push myself every single year to do a little bit more, to dig a little bit deeper, to be more present for people in my life. And that is single-handedly, there's deaths that come and go, but that's probably the most impactful thing that has happened to me. And it just has ripple effects, right? When you feel changed and you let God in, he just, man, the things and people that he can touch around you, but you have to surrender, right?
Yes, that is so key. And so many of us, we live in a world, in a time where we're told, you can do anything, but what often gets forgotten is through him, right? We have to remember who we are. But as Gigi Sabat, one of my former guests and a good colleague, says, we also have to remember whose we are. And whatever gifts we have, we should be doing the best we can with those gifts to honor him, because not living up to our potential. I've always said, and I stole this from Dave Durand. He says, you want to get to that exit interview and you want to hear, well done, good and faithful servant. And I always think about, I don't want him to say, here's the potential I gave you and here's what you did, right? I want him to say, here's the potential I gave you. Here's what you could have done. And here's what you did. Yeah. So you want to exceed the expectations, take the gifts and expand on them and do even more. If all Kat did was raise a wonderful family, raise 2 kids, have a successful marriage, and at the end, die in your husband's arms, happy with your family surrounding you, that's probably good. But on top of that, you've also built a business and you're making a difference for clients. Tell us, I always like to ask, okay, what's your signature story? What's like your favorite client success story where you took somebody that, maybe didn't believe in themselves or maybe wasn't sure about the transition they were making, but you helped them not only make the transition, but find a great role and they're really happy. Or maybe it's the other way around. It's somebody looking for someone and they never thought they could find somebody as good, but they're so happy with the person you found. And what's that story for you?
There's been so many throughout the years on both ends. It's hard to pinpoint that just one amazing story. I have people that come in and they're just like at wit's end because they're in that toxic environment, right? Yeah. With their employer. And they're like, I have to get out here, but I can't leave. I have to feed my family. So I have to stay. It has to be the right job for me. And then like we sit there and we talk and we try to like kick the can around to see, okay, well, what are other options? Because these roles aren't available for you right now. Right. What you want? Are you willing to be creative and think outside the box just a little bit? Which I think were one of the questions that I answered in that in the survey that you sent me. Are you willing to think outside the box? And, when you are able to do that and really kind of think and not like be so narrow-minded, you're able to see other opportunities that God might have presented that you might not have otherwise been able to see. And I like to always, I don't know a lot of people, and I think we might have spoken about this previously, is that when I am working with a client or I'm working with a candidate, a lot of times I like to invoke the guardian angels and say, hey, my guardian angel, can you go before me with this candidate or for this candidate's interview? Or I might have a client and be like, can you go before me and in communion with their guardian angel, if it is worthwhile for them and it's God's will, allow something to happen. If there's somebody that needs a job for this specific role I have available and they're down in the dumps, or they're just a single parent, or they need that extra income, let this come to them. Bring it to them so they can come and I can fill it with the person, not the fit, not the right fit, but the person that genuinely also needs this job that will change them. There's just so many different ways that, and so many different people that have had great stories. I mean, I've placed so many people and I've had so many different clients in so many different industries, and everyone is just a unique win. Mm-hmm. I mean, every now and then you'll get one that's like, a year or two later they leave, but they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. I love my job. I have quality of life. I have this, that, or the other. And that's the other thing, is I get to be picky. I get to be choosy as to who I get to work with, which is nice. And not a lot of people get to get, but I I am blessed to be able to say, okay, I want to work with Dan because he's fantastic and he's good people and his company culture is great for other people to come and work. I want to work with him. So I do. I mean, not a lot of people get to have that kind of ability to be picky,
Yeah, and that's it's a freedom, right? I interviewed Marshall Goldsmith, and one of the things he said, where you have to, like, if you've got to feed your family, you got to pay the bills. Well, then sometimes you've got to take bad business, but where as much as you can, don't take someone who's not a fit, who doesn't fit who you are, doesn't fit your personality, doesn't fit the mission of your company, your values, because that usually becomes a problem client, right? It's that client that wants everything done not the way that you normally do it. They hired you because of what you do, but not of the way you do it. Then they're not really a fan of yours or whatever. And he said, to the extent that you have to, go ahead, but for the most part, you should be like Kat and choose who you work with very carefully, because then you don't mind picking up the phone, right? And if it's 7:00 at night and you got 10 minutes between dinner and putting the kids to bed or whatever, you can take that phone call because you understand them, you have a mission with them, you have things in common. What are some of the things that you look for in a client? Let's start with both on the looking for a job side, and then on the someone who's looking for an executive that they're looking to hire. And then I want to talk about your ideal client too, but let's talk about, what do you look for in that? What are the things that make you say, I'm going to work with them? I'm going to do everything I can to help them.
Well, usually it starts with a discovery call. They'll ping me on LinkedIn or email me and say, hey, I'm interested in your services. All right, let's pop on a call. Let's get to know each other. Mm-hmm. And it's never like, I like to say, just like my interviews, it's never checking the box. It's just shooting the breeze and figuring out, okay, well, where'd you graduate from? Who were your parents? Where'd you live? Like, where do you live now? Like a little bit more about you, in your history. And then once I feel like there's a connection there, and I feel like it's going to be a good fit, because you get signals, like everybody gets signals. It's not just me being in recruiting and being able to read people. You yourself, you've lived life. Good versus bad. Toxic traits when you see them, even if it's like, that really good charismatic salesperson that feels like they can hide them. You can still see those traits being portrayed, whether they are listening to you or not. Active listening, that's one. If they're interrupting me every 5 seconds, I'm like, oh man, is this what it's going to be like for me to do business with you when I have to tell you that I have a fantastic candidate, but you won't let me speak about why? I mean, what is it going to be like when I tell you something's wrong with your job description, or that your pay was wrong, or anything that has to do with the nuts and bolts of the job? Are you going to be combative with everything? Are you going to want to listen? I mean, there's so much.
Yeah. So that's on the employer side. What about on the candidate side?
Ooh, it's interesting. So when I do sales roles, it's always my favorite, because I like to just have a very organic conversation. When I get the ones, and it doesn't have to just be sales, but it happens a lot in sales when they're interested in those roles, where it's very a yes, no, or a very one-lined response to something. I'm like, you're on an interview, kind of. It's a conversation. Right. I don't want to pull things out of you. I mean, pretend I'm a friend. And so a lot of times when it's somebody that is graduating, they're a little bit nervous, right? They're about to get into the real world. So they're a little bit more nervous. And I give them a little bit of grace and leeway. But I mean, I want those people to talk to me. Tell me a little bit about yourself, even if you're shy. Like, I want to know what makes you who you are. And if I can relate, the more you give me, I have to sell you too. I have to believe in Dan and what Dan is capable of in order to sell him to the company that he's interested in. And then all those things that Dan's hiding inside, I could also use those. So if you don't tell me those little traits, you don't know, I might be like, oh man, that would have been a great line to sell when I was talking to somebody. But those fruitful conversations, I had this one lady that it was a technology company, and I think it was out west, and she'd been running the roads, super hard worker. And then we just got to talking. I was like, well, what's your schedule look like? And she's like, this is my schedule. And she was running through it. Dan, she's waking up at 3 a.m. every day. And she's like, I don't get home till like 6 p.m. And she is working her tail off. And I'm like, you would be fantastic. But you don't know until you have these conversations and you're really getting in the weeds. Got her this great opportunity. She came back like, oh my gosh, crying. I can't believe I got this job. I would have never gotten this job if it wasn't for you. Because she also didn't have the confidence. So a lot of it's also putting your little counselor hat and being like, well, Dan, don't you see what God gave you? You got all the fruits. You just got to have a little faith that he's going to take care of you and that he gave it and it's inside you, and apply for the job. Nothing's going to hurt. Just apply for the job.
Yeah, as my wife, who is the last person you would catch in sales, but she gave me my favorite line. I was talking to her about something that I was thinking of doing, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to make the phone call. And she said to me, Daniel, you're already at no. You're at no. If you don't ask, you're already at no. You have your answer. Your answer is no because you haven't asked. So if you're already at no, assume you're at no. Make the phone call, and if they say yes, great. If they say no, that's where you started, so that there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Absolutely. But we get caught up in our heads, right? The enemy's always playing with our head, messing things up. It makes us so scared and so timid to just go out on a limb and just ask that question, right?
Well, you're going to write about this, Kat, but so you just brought it up. How do you fight the enemy, especially when you were at that point where your daughter's just born, your older son, how much older was he?
My son's about 3.5 years older than my daughter.
So he's 3.5. You just had your daughter. So now they're 4.5 and 1, and you're dealing with a cancer diagnosis. I can imagine a lot of the enemy. It's like a fertile field in your head for him to say, okay, why don't we just give up? What are you doing all this praying for? What were the low moments? And then how did you overcome them? And we don't want you to give away what you're going to be writing about, because I want to ask you about that. But tell us, for someone who's facing something like that, what would you say to them? What would you share with them about that experience that helped you come through?
Ooh, man, there were low moments. There were so many beautiful moments too, but one of them, actually, I'll share two. One of them, I remember being like, I think it was like round 2 of chemo, and the chemo starting to really mess with my immune system. So I'm starting to feel nauseous. I remember hugging the toilet and my mom coming in there, and she's like, I'm starting to let the enemy like mess with my head. Like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. You just have to have faith. Like, basically do what you need to do, throw up. If not, go lay down and get yourself back together. Like, say some prayers. A little silent warrior is what she is. A small, petite, silent warrior. In her words, the sternness is of a mom that's a stickler for rules, a Hispanic mom. Like, get back up. What are you doing? No, we have faith in this family. Get on and get about, right?
Yes.
It helped a lot. The other one was, and I've referenced this many, many times in other posts and podcasts, but I like to go back to it, especially now with someone that's Catholic. So I know it's going to hit you too. I was really, really sick. My husband was working about an hour drive away, and I was home alone. I had my 3.5-year-old in the bed with me, and I had my daughter. I had just laid her down. I was so sick, and it was getting worse and worse. So I laid down in the bed. My son's watching, he's playing with his toys. He's watching a cartoon. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I can't move. I can't move. And that dread where you're like, oh no, something's wrong. Like, you can feel it like rising in your chest, just laying there. And I'm like, my phone is on the bedstand. I can't move to get the phone. And I'm like, I start to cry, and I'm like crying quietly because he's right next to me. I'm like, is this it? Am I going to die? Like, what is happening? And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like pleading with God. And I'm like, you know what? I know what to do. So I start praying the rosary in my head, right? I'm starting to our blessing. Please intercede for me. Please, please, please. I need your help. I don't want anything to happen with my son here. It'll devastate him. My daughter's in the other room. Please, please heal me. Like, you all the things, right? I'll do whatever you want. Please ask your son.
You start making deals.
Yes, absolutely. And so like I did one Hail Mary. I get to the end of the Hail Mary, and then all of a sudden it's like, I can move, I'm fine. And then you just start crying again because you're like, what just happened? Like, what just happened? It was the most amazing story, or not story, but part of my story, instance that happened during the cancer, that I was just like, wow, amazing. The power
Yeah.
of prayer and the power of complete surrender, because you don't really know until you're literally down on your luck or you're down on your knees. Like, I have nothing left to lose. Like,
Yeah.
I desperately need your help right now. And it was pivotal. It was pivotal. It obviously changed how I am with faith and just made it much more stronger.
Yeah, I love that story for the faith that you had to just, you know what, I'm gonna just pray, right? And you were able to be there, um, and accept the helplessness, right? And I just read a book about the 12 steps of the sacraments. So how the 12-step programs, whether it's, alcoholics, sex addicts anonymous, whatever, the 12 steps are the 12 steps,
Yeah.
and how they match up so well with the sacraments. And the first one is understand that you are powerless.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Once you know that, hey, the power is not yours, it's his, and we've just got to give in to that and let him guide you. He's going to tell you where to go and what to do, and it's going to work out. If you're doing his will. That's fantastic. You mentioned guardian angels earlier, and I wanted to talk about that because it's a little used, or maybe not, something I hadn't been very attuned to, but our guardian angels are so powerful.
Mhm.
For every, all of us have a guardian angel, and all of us, if you read C.S. Lewis, all of us have a demon too that's trying to take us to the other place, right? But that spiritual battle is happening.
Yep.
And I was talking with my daughter the other day, and we're just saying something she was upset about. And I said, look, just imagine right now your guardian angel is fighting so hard. If we could see the battle, he's a warrior. He's a bad dude,
Yeah.
and guess what? He's going to win. He's
Oh,
going to win. That demon is going to do everything he can, but your guardian angel, he's battling for you. And so when you think about it in those terms, and you think about that, what, like you said, when the evil one is the enemy is trying to get in your head, and you're like, I'm going to call it my guardian angel. I'm going to have him step in here because I don't have the strength. It's such a comforting thought. So, do you have any guardian angel stories that, as you mentioned earlier, that have helped you, that maybe helped you during your struggle?
ooh, man, guardian angel stories. I'll do a different one for you. And I've not mentioned it very many times. It's intimate, but I'll share it with you because it was
And all
amazing.
our listeners, Kat, just so you know.
It was amazing. So I think this was about 2 years ago, and we have a lake out back in the very back of our neighborhood, and I walk over there all the time just because the birds in the water, and it's just really pretty.
Yeah.
And I remember going out there and I was praying. I think I had just finished the rosary, and I'm going about my lap, and there's nobody else that's out there. It's just me. And then all of a sudden, I don't feel like I'm alone. I feel like there's somebody behind me. And then all of a sudden, I get this wave of emotion, like crying, and then like somebody's hugging me, and it's just warm and like just comfort. It just feels like a warm blanket, or sitting in the sun. And I'm like, instantly, I already knew Christ is behind me.
Mhm.
In that moment. And I walked about half around the lake, which is probably about a quarter of a mile, with him completely behind me. And I am weeping like a baby. I can't even talk, or I'm not even doing it justice, but if you could see it in your mind, me
Yeah.
walking with Christ behind, and just light, immense light and love. And then he just went away. And I remember thinking, wow, I want to feel like that all the time. And so since then, it's like running and you're trying to catch the Lord, and you're just like, I want to feel that again. How much do I have to pray and read to feel your love again? And it just makes you like want to run to heaven, right? What can I do to earn heaven? Because I desperately want to be there with you, Lord. It was just such an amazing feeling. And then to share it with the people that are close to me, and like let them know, like, he is there. He is there. Like, don't give up. Like, he's always going to be there waiting for you. You just have to be patient,
Yeah. That's beautiful. I thought you were going to tell me a story about having to outrun an attacker or something, and
Oh.
it just turned out to be really good. I love that. Tell us about. I want to make sure we get to this topic because you're stepping into the literary space, and you're creating something with regards to your faith. So the Catholic fantasy books is, I think, what you called it, with themes of faith, hope, and personal transformation. What can we expect, and when can we expect that to get started, Kat?
I am so excited. This was a little heavenly jingle because I had wrote my first book. I had no intentions of writing a kid book or a YA book. Would have never even crossed my mind. But after that little encounter with my good friend Jesus, he distinctively told me, "I want you to write a book." What? For who? And he said explicitly, for our kids, because our kids need to be rejuvenated and want me and heaven. And the only way to do that is to captivate them more than this modern world is more so spewing like witches and Satanism and like the occult. And he has so much more to offer. And he doesn't want people, or doesn't want his children to just see that. There should be more light. Right. And so he's like, "I'm going to give you the stuff to write about." And I was like, "Okay, Lord, I'm here. I'm praying. I'm ready to go." And he gave me the most detailed, wonderful story of kids, different types of kids, different types of background that are tasked with the duty to essentially save the world from the enemy, from demons that are just constantly roaming the earth. But we do it in a way where they get insight into various saints for help. They almost go on this scavenger hunt, and they get these little clues as to what's going to help them bring this big team together. Where are all these kids that have no idea the power within them, that they're part of this greater plan? You know, it goes into theology, and it goes into, history and all the biblical stories and our blessed mothers in it. And it's just, I would have never thought of this story. Every time I write, I'm like, man, like, this is amazing. Keep pouring into me, Lord. Like,
I can't write fast enough.
Right. And the way that it came about, I wrote my previous story, it took me 4 years. I wrote this story in unison with Christ, and it took me like 5 months. And I'm like, what? Like, it's incredible. So I'm in the editing phase right now with Good and True Media, and my editor and the people at Good and True are fantastic. And so I am trying, and Daniel will have to pay for me, I'm trying to do it on the Feast of the Archangels in September. Okay. That's the release date I truly want, because the angels are in the story as well. The main character is his big guy is Archangel Michael, and he's a big character in the story. So I want to rejuvenate kids. I want them to be proud of books that they're reading and not just read the trash that's out there.
What is the age group you're aiming for?
Man, it could be anybody. I mean, I think everybody read, unfortunately, all the Harry Potter books. They were written fantastic, Lord of the Rings, but I mean, my daughter, she's 10, and she would read it. So it's 13 and up. It doesn't have any like crazy things, but it also tackles like pride. It tackles all the different, vices that are out there that, that can make a kid, especially in modern society, technology, all these different influences that come with, our phones and social media. And make it more relatable. So whatever they're battling, that they can find a tether, they can find a prayer, they can find, oh, this person's going through the same thing. It might be a character, but it's so relatable.
I love that. And we're going to call this episode, just based on your background, we're going to title it Faith Through the Fire. You mentioned there's a similarity between that and the book series.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the Faith and Fire series. And my first book is Awakened by Fire.
Faith and Fire. Maybe we might even change the episode title, Faith and Fire. I think we could just change the subtitle a little bit. I know Sunil can work that magic. What's the name of the first book you said?
Awakened by Fire.
Awakened by Fire. I love that.
They all get this little kindling within them that the Lord is calling them to do something greater.
Love that. That's so good. I'm going to give you one opportunity, an opportunity, not one, you can have as many as you want, an opportunity to let people know how to get a hold of you. One of the things I'm really impressed by with you, for especially because you don't do this, you're not doing this 40, 50, 60 hours a week. This is your part-time gig. Your full-time gig is mom and wife. You have such a great following on LinkedIn, more than a lot of people. So I know that that's one way people can get a hold of you. What's the best way to get a hold of you? If somebody has a need in your space where they're recruiting for a high level position, and what kind of positions do you recruit for? Do you help people recruit for and find talent? And then, or on the other side, there's somebody who's looking for a headhunter to help them find the ideal job for them, their next best job. So tell us, I'd love to hear how you've grown your LinkedIn, and then how can people get a hold of you? Is that the best way?
Yes. I mean, people can email me. So Catherine@nvsourcing.com. They can go to my website. My LinkedIn also has my information. Don't just spam call me. I get spam calls all the time, but it's on there. If you want to directly call me, my phone number is on LinkedIn. And that is my direct number. So you can message me on LinkedIn. When it comes to LinkedIn, I get 95% of the business from LinkedIn. It's just been a huge proponent to scaling my business, which has been fantastic and a blessing. And it all started with me thanking God at my 5-year mark for cancer for being cancer free. And it just out of nowhere started to grow. And I was like, you know what? I don't know what's happening, Lord, but my LinkedIn is yours. And you will always see stuff about faith. You know, God willing, I will stay on this road and be tried and true to him. But right now I'm doing a Bible series, and I'm taking people we're going to go from page 1 to the end. I'm not as fantastic as Father Mike Schmitz, but I will do my best to slowly scale it back for everybody, and just one little section at a time. And so I try to give people what I would want to know, what I would want to learn. And it all has to do with God, right? Because if you can focus on him, everything else is just gonna click in place.
No, I love following you, because you're right. We learn something new all the time, and so you've done such a great job with that. What are some tips that you might give someone who's trying to grow their LinkedIn? I love that you incorporate your faith. You don't run away from it. But what are some tips that you might have for someone that's trying to create that content? Are you doing it all yourself, or do you have a team? What's the secret to putting out great content almost every day?
Ooh. Don't just throw something out there and hope that it'll stick to the wall, right? I like to be very intentional with what I put out. It is still organic because it is me. It isn't a team. I've tried all different types of things, but I just like the method of showing up for people how I'm showing up for myself. And that has worked for me. Also, responding to people. I know it's intimidating. I know people don't like responding to other people that they don't know, but I feel discovery calls from people all the time. That's how I was blessed to meet you. Right. And so many other people on this space. Is just, if somebody writes you and you feel like, okay, well, they're not a bad person, they want to talk, jump on a call.
Yeah.
The easiest way to grow your network is, honestly, it's not on social media. It's growing your actual network with the people that are going to be real life people that you get to meet. Now I know Dan. I know how he got that little shiner in his eye. I know little nuts and bolts about you now that I'm going to put in my pocket. And should I have the right person for you, or something that might be a good fit, I'm going to give you a call and let you know. And that's how you build your network, slowly. Okay, maybe make it practice one day a week. And I do this on my own. Is I'm going to try to take a discovery call with somebody that I don't know. There's no end game. And that's where people get caught up, is they are like, well, I don't want to waste time if I'm not going to get something from it. You will get something from it, because you don't know what that person has to offer. And you don't know what Christ wants that person to tell you, or what you are going to tell them. And so if you just leave it to God and say, you know what, I'm going to take one call a week with the person I don't know, I think you will be pleasantly surprised at how it's going to grow organically and naturally.
I love that. Any last minute wisdom, Kat, for our viewers and listeners, something that maybe I forgot to ask and you're like, oh, we forgot to talk about that, because we want to make sure we get as much as we can. I know we want to have you back and maybe take another angle. Definitely want to have you back when you're getting close to launching the book so we can get you as much exposure as possible.
That would be great. Ooh, I would say I'm going to quote Mother Teresa, just because I always put my family first. The best thing you can do is go home and love your family. And it's so true, whether you're a father or you're a mother or you're a grandmother, or even a child, and you haven't been home in years. The best thing you can do is to nourish your family, because there's so much darkness in the world. There's so many people that feel unloved and unattached. And despite what society tells us that we are constantly communicating with other people and connected, we aren't. Yeah. We're severed. It's like our arm is bleeding. And the best thing you could do is call your mom, ask how she's doing. Call your dad, take your grandpa for coffee. I mean, get in touch with actual real life. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how that little change can ripple.
All right, my friends, you have it. You heard it from Kat herself. Call your grandma, call your mom, call your dad. Make a real connection today. Don't just text. Don't just comment on people's social media. Get off your phones and look at the people that are across from you. Oh, gosh, I hate seeing restaurants with people sitting across the table from each other, both of them staring at their phones, and they're not talking to each other. They're just waiting for their food. I'm like, this is the time when you're supposed to have that conversation. What great advice, Kat. Thank you so much. This time has flown by. So we want to have you back to talk about faith and fire when we get ready to launch. We'd love to have you. We'll be part of your launch party at Why Not Leadership and the Lead Different podcast. So what do you say we end the show on that note?
That'd be great. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you so much, Kat.
Yeah, awesome. God bless.
God bless you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, like, comment. If you learned something new from Kat today, make sure you let us know in the comments. We want to make sure we spread the message about how to lead different, just like what we heard about today from Kat. Every single week, every Friday at 11 o'clock Mountain Time, 12 Central, 1 o'clock Eastern, you can find a new episode here. So thank you so much for being part of our network, Kat.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan.
This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different, because great leaders change the world.